Elon Musk, you know him, he created Tesla and SpaceX. He had some interesting tweets and some comments about how he fears robots more than he fears nuclear war. Let's look at a couple tweets. It's worth reading Superintelligence by Bostrom. We need to be super careful with AI, artificial intelligence, potentially more dangerous than nukes. Hope we're not just the biological bootloader for digital superintelligence. Unfortunately, that's increasingly possible. Now, the book he's talking about is called Superintelligence, Paths, Dangers, and Strategies by Nick Bostrom. And we've got an excerpt from the book. We cannot blithely assume that a superintelligence will necessarily share any of the final values stereotypically associated with wisdom and intellectual development in humans: scientific curiosity, benevolent concern for others, spiritual enlightenment and contemplation, renunciation of material acquisitiveness, a taste for refined culture, or for the simple pleasures in life, humility and selflessness, and so forth. Now, if you've watched the other clips that we've posted from this episode, we went from Ebola to ISIS and all this other bad stuff in the world. I don't know how much of that, all that good stuff about humanity that he's talking about, we have going on in the world right now.
I know. I was just thinking, enlightened? We're enlightened?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
after the ISIS story,
it's
kind of.
It's
all about context. It's all about context.
Now, look.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk obviously knows a lot about the future.
A lot.
This is a guy who's on the forefront of this, of getting us off this planet, and at least while we're on this planet, maybe using some electric cars before we destroy the whole freaking thing. How much credence do you give his tweets and this idea that the robots are going to get us before the nuclear war?
First of all, I never say never to anything. Never or always.
Yeah.
It's just one of those, I do not put it past anyone to create some kind of robot.
Yeah.
But why would you want to do that? I just don't understand why you would want to create something that's smarter than you.
Right. Well, isn't it more that we're just going to lose control of them? If you, any of these scientific sci-fi movies, like it's all that we try to do something good, but then of course they end up taking over.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations.
Terminator.
There's a lot of conversations in these articles about like a benevolent robot, a robot that is kind of tasked with protecting the humans. And okay, let's think of a worst case scenario. To protect a human is to protect a human from harming another human. Well, maybe the best way to protect them from harming each other is to lock them all into cages or to kill them or
which
whatever.
that was iRobot, which you can either read the book or you can see the Will Smith movie. But that was exactly what happened. The robots turned because they realized that we were killing each other. So then they turned on it.
My problem with these kinds of arguments, and yes, I would argue that Elon Musk is a futurist. I would argue that he has some very good ideas about how human society can and could move towards the future. Elon Musk, though, is not a philosopher. Elon Musk is actually not a scientist. He's a very rich man who hires a lot of very smart people to do things that he thinks are good things to do. And most of the time, those are very good things to do. But let's not, put him on a really big pedestal. Second to that, I think that this entire conversation is predicated on the idea that artificial intelligence is capable of what you're talking about. Many scientists don't think that's the case. We have futurists like Ray Kurzweil or Michio Kaku who think there's going to be a singularity, we're going to be downloaded into the internet and we're not going to need our physical bodies anymore and all that bullshit.
I saw The Matrix.
Yeah.
I know.
A lot of neuroscientists and a lot of computational neuroscientists, computer engineers who work in that field are very skeptical that we will ever get AI to this place. We know we have the computing power. We don't understand enough about how the brain works to be able to build a computer that could mimic actual human brain activity.
Right. So that is an interesting point, and that brings me to my next question: is do you think we've already started this? So in other words, we have the technology, and we're all walking around with this stuff in our hand, right? We've all got an iPhone, and we're all doing this stuff all day long. So the technology part is there, and then the other part, the intelligence part, is just us. It's our brains that we're constantly putting into it all day long with our Twitter and Instagram and all that. So we're becoming the machines ourselves, right?
Well, yeah. Well, the brain's kind of a computer that way. Neurons fire in a certain direction, and like we're already wired for that in a big way. We just, yes, we understand, most of us, right or wrong, and we're emotionally intelligent in that way. I just go back to like why. I mean, just why? Like why? I mean, like spiders and ants aren't walking around being like, oh, I wish humans were made so they can crush us and they can step on us and destroy us like one day. I don't understand the.
That's interesting. So do you think humans fundamentally have some desire to destroy ourselves? Like we love Godzilla movies and we love destruction movies. Is there some weird thing about being human?
I think there is some weird psyche. It's like because we do sit on the top of the the food pyramid, so to speak. It's like there is some fascination with creating something that is bigger than us. I mean, we're already fascinated with God and the idea of God and the idea of the bigness. That there is something bigger than us. Like, why not create that?
Right.
I
Wait,
don't know.
Cara, real quick. Does God exist? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Sorry. Continue.
I think the issue here, well, first of all, I have to say the brain and the computer do not work the same way. Fundamentally, they don't work the same way, and that's something we have to understand.
Yeah.
It's hard to understand that because the media tells us that they work the same way because it's easy to use analogies like, just like in a computer, your brain does this, but it's bullshit. There are a lot of people who try to model computers after the human brain, and they've been very successful in making computers smarter and faster and better.
What is the fundamental difference between like the brain and like the computer and how they're wired?
So when we talk about, and this, you might even want to cut this out. We'll see. I'm going to try and keep it short. But I can tell you just from personal experience, and granted this was, almost 10 years ago maybe now. When I was in graduate school, I was working in a neuroscience lab where we took mouse neurons. We took the brain cells and we put them on these little plates and we could calculate all the different ways that they fired. And I was working with a physicist who's now at Los Alamos, and he was doing computational neurophysiology, where he would literally look at 3 neurons in a row, and he would look at types of networks and say, if this one fires and this one fires, how does this one react? If this one fires and this one fires, how does this one? That's 3 neurons. You have billions of these things in your brain. It's the capabilities of the brain are so far beyond the computational power that we understand right now. Computers are fast.
Right.
They can hold a lot of data, but the reasoning abilities that computers have are nowhere near the reasoning abilities that the human brain has been able to have.
Yeah.
And fundamentally,
So that's why they can beat us in Jeopardy, but they can't love.
exactly.
How about
And also, I've got to make this point.
Yeah.
We still don't know in the neurosciences how consciousness arises. The concept of self. How does it go from individual neurons to being awake and alert and aware? And until we understand that, which is kind of the holy grail of neuroscience, I have absolutely no fear that a computer is going to become self-aware and take over.
Yeah.
That's great.
Final thought. How long till we have human-robot marriage?
They're already having sex, right?
Well, now there are sex robots, so it's going to happen, right?
Donald Trump said 2030, so that's I'm going with that.